This video is not to sound sexist. The way a woman should play blackjack is exactly the same way as a man should play blackjack. I've seen people play blackjack and they make reference to playing conservatively and playing aggressively. That makes absolutely no sense. With regards to playing aggressively, you lose your chip if you bust, just the same as if you don't get as many points as the dealer gets. This DVD has to do with providing information for women. If you go in most casinos, the majority of the people playing blackjack are men. However, with the information in this video, if you follow it, you will be able to play blackjack better than 75% of the people at the casino, and you will be able to play as well as 24% of the people. That leaves 1% of the people who are card counting. Card counting essentially is the next step up from this video, and what that involves is betting more when the deck favors the player and less when it favors the house. This video will only cover basic strategy. If you go to casinos, you will see the availability of little cards with basic strategy on them. Those cards are essentially the same as what will be presented in this video, except that the format that it's presented in this video is easier to memorize, and you should be able to learn what's in the video with about 30 minutes of study. So first I go over the rules of blackjack, and then I go over how to do basic strategy, and if you put those together, on average you'll lose between 0.1% and 0.5% when you play in the casino. That means for every dollar you bet, you'll lose 1/10 of a cent over a long time, or depending on the rules, you could lose up to half a cent for every dollar you bet. To understand what the rules of blackjack are, blackjack is played with from 1 to 8 decks. All of the cards put together are called the shoe. Each card in the shoe is assigned a value. 2s are worth 2, 3s are worth 3, 4s are worth 4, 5s are worth 5, 6 are worth 6, 7 are worth 7, 8 are worth 8, 9 are worth 9, 10s are worth 10, and queens, jacks, and kings are worth 10 also. So for the rest of this video, when I refer to a 10, I will be also referring to the 3 face cards. With regards to the ace can count as either 1 or 11. In the event that a hand would go over 21, if it was counted as 11, then it only counts as 1. That would be referred to as a hard hand. A soft hand is a hand in which the ace can still count as an 11 or a 1. Play starts with the dealer giving each player 1 card. Then the dealer gives himself a card. Then the dealer gives each player another card. Since the dealer in this case has an ace up, they would ask everyone on the table whether or not they want insurance, and then they would proceed to check to see if they had a 10 under there. If they had a 10, then everyone else would lose, except for, in this case, the player with the blackjack. The card you can see that's up for the dealer is called the up card. The card that you cannot see is called the hole card. The object of the game is to get a value of cards closer to 21 than the dealer gets. However, if you go over 21, you bust and the dealer will take all your chips that you wagered. Unless you have a blackjack, which is a 10 and an ace, a dealer will pay you even money if you get closer to 21 than they do, or if they busted and you didn't. If you get a blackjack, the dealer will pay you 3 chips for every 2 that you bet. Also, a blackjack beats a 21 gotten by some other means. For example, if you get a blackjack and the dealer has a 10 and a 6 and then draws a 5 for 21, you will still beat the dealer. If you have the same point value as the dealer, it is called a push, and neither side gets any chips. If the dealer gets closer to 21 than you do, or you bust, the dealer will take all the chips you wagered. The player losing their chips if they bust rule is the rule that gives the advantage to the casino. This rule gives them about an 8% advantage. Most other rules reduce the advantage to the casino. The only exception to this is the insurance bet, which in general is a sucker bet in favor of the casino. With high counts and card counting, it can be an aid to the player. Different casinos have different rules. I will go over the surrender and early surrender rules after I've covered the other rules. Not dealing with the surrender rules, when a player is dealt their first 2 cards, the dealer asks them what they want to do. They will have between 2 and 4 choices. One choice is they can stand, which means they don't want to do anything further with their hand. The dealer will then go to the next player, or they will turn over their hole card. Another choice will be for the player to take another card, which is referred to as hitting. The player may continue to take cards until they choose to stand or they bust. Another potential choice for the player to do is to double down. Doubling down is when you double your bet and you get exactly 1 more card. You can only double down on your first 2 cards. Some casinos only allow you to double down if your total is 10 or 11. The final choice that may come up is that if you have 2 cards of the same value, you can split them and have 2 hands to play. In some casinos you can keep splitting until you stop getting 2 cards of the same value. In other casinos you can only split once. In many casinos, if you split a pair of aces, you will only get 1 more card for each ace. If that card happens to be a 10, it will not be a blackjack. Other variations of splitting is whether or not you are allowed to double down on splits. In some casinos you can, and in some casinos you cannot. Another rule of blackjack is called insurance. If the dealer's up card is an ace, as it is in this case, the dealer will ask you if you want insurance. If the dealer has a 10 as a hole card and you do not have a blackjack, the dealer will take your chips if you did not buy insurance. If the hole card is not a 10, the dealer will take your insurance bet. A variation of the insurance bet is that if you have a blackjack and if the dealer has an ace up, they will offer you even money. That means they will pay you an amount equal to the amount you bet if you do not take the even money. And if the dealer's hole card is a 10, it will be a push and the dealer will not pay you anything. If the dealer's hole card is not a 10 and you do not take even money, the dealer will pay you 3-2 for your blackjack. Insurance is not a good bet in general. There are 4 ways the dealer's hole card can be a 10. That would be if it's a 10, jack, queen, or king. There are 9 ways it can be something other than a 10. That would be an ace through 9. So that means you will win the insurance bet 4 of 13 times and save 4 chips. However, if you lose the insurance bet 9 of 13 times, each time you lose the insurance bet, it will cost you 1/2 chip. So by taking insurance, it will cost you 4.5 chips to save 4. There are 2 more options that appear in some casinos. One is early surrender. Early surrender is the option of the player to give up half of their bet to get out of playing the hand out. This option must be played before the dealer checks to see if they have a blackjack or before the first player makes a choice on their hand. Early surrender is generally used when the player has a crummy hand with no prospect of it getting better and the dealer has a good hand. For example, if you have a 10 and a 6, if you take another card, there are 8 of 13 cards that will cause you to bust. They are the 6, 7, 8, 9, and 4 10s. Similarly, 7 of 13 cards will not cause the dealer to bust. They are the 7, 8, 9, and 4 10s. The final rule that is given in some casinos is regular surrender. Regular surrender is when it comes to be your turn, you are allowed to give up half of your bet to get out of finishing off the hand. Another rule variation is whether or not the dealer hits on a soft 17. If a hand has an ace that can still count as 1 or 11 without going over 21, it is a soft hand. In some casinos the dealer will hit a soft 17, in some casinos they will not. It is better for the player if the dealer hits or does not hit the soft 17. We will now go over how these hands would be played out. In the first situation, if there was early surrender, then before the dealer would have checked for blackjacks that would have been offered, this player would have early surrendered and this player would have early surrendered. But if the rules of the table were regular surrender, then this hand would surrender after the dealer checked for the blackjack and when the dealer asked the player what they wanted to do. But we'll now play this out as if it has neither early surrender or surrender. This player has a 16 against the dealer's ace, so they would hit. 17, that means they bust, and the dealer takes their chips. This player has 2 8s, they would split them. They would get a 3 for 11, and they would hit again. And it's a 10, so it's 21, so they would stop hitting. Then the dealer would go to the next card. And it's a 4, which is 12, and they would again, and it's 22, and the dealer would take their chips. This is a blackjack. Since the dealer checked for blackjack, they would pay that 2 to 3 and take the cards. Just to show you how goofy things can go, for some reason only known to this player, they would choose to double down, and they would get their ace. And this player with 13 would hit, and they bust, so the dealer would take their chips. This player has 17, so they would stand, the dealer would then check their whole card, they would pay this player, and they would pay that player, and since the dealer has a 19 and the player has 17, they would take that player's chips. And the players would place their bets again. And then they would deal the next hand. This player has 17 against the dealer's 6, so they would stand. This player has 20 against the dealer's 6, so they would stand. This player has 12 against the dealer's 6, so they would stand. This player would split because they have 2 7s. In this casino, they're allowed to double down on splits, so they would double down. And they get one more card, which is a king, so they'd have 21. And they take another card here, 12, which against the dealer's 6 you'd stand on. This player has 9, so they would double down and get a 2. Since they only have one chip, they would double down for less. This player would stand on the 14, and the dealer has 16, they bust. So that means the dealer would pay out this player. They would pay out that one, they would pay out that one, pay out that one, pay out that one, they would pay out that one, and they pay out that one. There is a concept called basic strategy. Basic strategy tells you how to play your cards. If you do not do card counting and just do basic strategy, the house's advantage is between 0.15 to 0.5% against the player, depending on the rules of the casino. Basic strategy tells you if the dealer's up card is a 2 or 3, then you hit until your point total is 13. If the dealer's up card is a 4 to 6, then you hit until your point total is 12. If the dealer's up card is a 7 to ace, you hit until you have 17. These 3 rules tell you how to play your cards on about 88% of the hands that you will see. There is an asterisk here. The asterisk indicates that you stand on 16 on the dealer's 10 for an up card if you have more then 2 cards. Then splitting your cards, if you have a pair of aces, you always split them. If you have a pair of 9s, you split them 2 to 9 except for 7. If you have a pair of 8s, you always split them. If you have a pair of 7s, 3s, or 2s, you split them 2 to 7, but if you can't double down on splits, then you split 7s, 3s, and 2s 4 to 7. If you have a pair of 4s, you split them on 5, a dealer up card of 5 or a dealer up card of 6, but you only do that if you can double down on splits. Then there's 2 more asterisks. These asterisks indicate that if you have a pair of 7s, then you stand against a dealer 10. There's no rhyme or reason for it, it's just the way that the numbers came out. Rules for doubling down are if your total is 11, then you double down 2 to 10. If your total is 10, you double down 2 to 9. If your total is 9, you double down 3 to 6. If you have an ace 7 or an ace 6, you double down 3 to 6. However, there's 3 more asterisks. And they indicate if you can double down, do it. And do not stand on ace 7 against a 3 to 6. Then if you have an ace 5 or an ace 4, you double down on 4 to 6. And an ace 3 and an ace 2, you double down on 5 and 6. A soft hand is a hand where the ace can still count as 1 or 11. The rules for soft hands are if the dealer's up card is a 9 or 10, then you hit till you have soft 19. On all other hands, you hit to soft 18. Again, if you have an ace 7 and it's 3 to 6, you double down as opposed to following. Casinos offer the option of surrender. Surrender is after the dealer has checked to see if they have a blackjack, if they have an ace up, and it's your turn to tell the dealer what to do. Then, if the dealer has a 9, 10, or ace up, you surrender if you have 16. However, if you have 2 8s, then you split them instead of surrendering. If the dealer has a 10 up, you surrender to 15. And those are the surrender rules. Then there's also early surrender. Early surrender is when you turn in your bet, and half of your bet, and you get out of the hand. And you do that before the dealer checks for blackjack or the first other player makes a decision. If the dealer's up card is a 9, you surrender 16s, including a pair of 8s. If the dealer's up card is a 10, you surrender 4 to 16, including pairs of 7s and pairs of 8s. If the dealer's up card is an ace, you surrender 12 to 17, including 6s and 7s and 8s. And you do not take insurance. And now a word from our sponsor. After you have mastered basic strategy and you want to go to the next step up in blackjack, there is card counting. I'm selling yet another card counting DVD on eBay for $8.99 with free shipping. What card counting is about is that there are times when a deck in blackjack will favor the player. If you bet more when the deck favors you and less when it favors the house, you can get a net edge over the casino. This DVD tells you how to know when the deck favors you. The mathematical skills you would need are the ability to add and subtract 0, 1, and 2, and to be able to divide by numbers less than 8 in your head. It should take about 20 to 40 hours of work to become proficient at card counting.